Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Rachakodash, double honors to the apostles, the bishops, the elders, the great millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacle of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, wherever you may be, wherever you may be. Shalom, Yahshua, Shalom. All right, so like it, I just finished the bike ride. I had these two articles here that came up in my feed. I haven't read either one of them yet, so I'm not even sure whether you have in them. It's just the title. The title is what grabbed me. So this first one says UK Supreme Court rules for biological definition of woman in British Equality Act. So it says the Supreme Court of the United Kingdom ruled Wednesday that trans women are not legally women under the British Equality Act. All right, and we know a lot of this. Shocking, man. And we know a lot of this has stemmed from, America. All right, that great whore. Okay, where it speaks about the wine of fornication. Right, his ways, his policies, his way of thinking, all these different things, right? Those things were spread from America around the earth. Okay, so it says, not saying it's, clearly it's not the only place, obviously not, but the greatest hub of it, all right, stems from America. So it says the court ruled that the meaning of the terms sex, man, and woman in the Equality Act of 2010 refer to biological sex as any other interpretation will render the Equality Act 2010 incoherent and impracticable, impracticable to operate. So it says, and it also concluded that someone with a gender reassignment card in the female gender does not come within the definition of a woman under the Equality Act of 2010. The EA 2010 legally protects people in British society from discrimination. The Scottish The Scottish Campaign Group for Women for Women Scotland have filed a lawsuit against the Scottish government, which had argued in court that trans people with a gender reassignment card are entitled to the same sex-based protections as biological women. The Scottish Parliament had previously decided in 2010 that in its Gender Representation of Public Boards Act, definition of a woman included people with the protected characteristic of gender reassignment, people living as a woman, and those proposing to undergoing who have undergone a gender reassignment process. Man, wind blowing away, man, knock my back over, man. It says living as a woman and those proposing to undergoing who have undergone a gender reassignment process. For Women Scotland, whose website states that it believes that there are only two sexes, that a person's sex is not a choice, nor can it be changed, went to Britain's Supreme Court in order to solidify concrete interpretation of the 2010 Equality Act, which would apply across all of the United Kingdom. Now, I know this says United Kingdom, but scaling back, you have Esau with this technology who's given, men the ability to conceive women, man, which is wicked, just straight out wickedness, man. Cut their rise off, women, taking hormone blockers and, all this craziness, all right? Trying to give people a choice against how they've been created biologically, all right? Because which we're going to, as a matter of fact, I'll get it now because I have this over here. Genesis 1:27. It says, so the Most High created man in his own image. The image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. Male and female created, Genesis 5:2, male and female created he them, and blessed them and called their name Adam in the day when they were created. So we know there's only two genders, male and female, man. Okay, as a matter of fact, what I just see that at? Right here. Let's go into male. It's a car. So it just says male of human, of animals. Because, yeah, that goes into animal species too, right? All right, so that's pretty much straightforward with those two. Just wanted to go into them real quick. All right, Nakwaba. female woman, female child, female animal. All right. But you get the point there. Male and female, just two, man, two genders. There's no such thing as the in-betweens that you hear today, right? Um, it says the court ruled in their favor that a person with a GRC in the female gender does not come within the definition of a woman under Britain's Equality Act, and that the statutory guidance issued by the Scottish ministers is incorrect. This interpretation of the EA 2010 does not remove protections from trans people and does say that trans people are protected from discrimination on the ground of gender reassignment, and they are also able to invoke the provisions on direct discrimination and harassment and indirect discrimination on the basis of sex. The court added that a trans woman can claim sex discrimination because she is perceived to be a woman. The result of this decision now means that across Britain, a trans woman can no longer sit on public boards and places officially set aside for women. It could also potentially lead to more in the way of restrictions against trans people when it comes to anything officially reserved for women, and lead to the rewriting of Britain's laws on gender recognition. But see, it's things like this. The fact that you have to argue over this shows that we need Yahweh Shah, shows that we need a righteous kingdom, man. Because we shouldn't be arguing over male, female, whose role is this role, all right? Because the women think that they're equal to a man, some think they're above a man, all right? But then some think they don't need a man, but then some they want a man, but they want to wear the pants in the family, but also want to be the female and get pampered and catered to and all this kind of stuff at the same time. So this word's just backwards and upside down and inside out. It's all kinds of, filth and abomination that the Lord has to, going into speaking about that Revelation 20 again, all right? That 1,000 years, which in the course of the final destruction and this final war and everything, Yahushua popping up the angels, all these things are going to be set aside, all right? Because these things are attached to what idols, man, all right? And the scriptures say, the idols shall be removed, all right? Just paraphrasing what the scriptures say. So when the idols are taken down, the practices behind those idols are going to also be taken down. And the people who are falling behind those idols and those practices are also going to be destroyed, okay? But having to argue with something like this shows that this is an unrighteous kingdom and an unrighteous society, and no one's concerned with the laws of the Lord. Because if people were more concerned with the laws of the Lord, the earth would be ran bare, right? But the ways of the Lord weren't given to all the people. That's not going to happen to the kingdom. We know that because it says that in Micah 4 and Isaiah 2. Everybody's going to have to know the ways of the Lord, right? They're going to have to follow the Lord's ways, just like you have different governments now. It's going to be done away with, right? Everybody's going to have to follow the ways of the Lord. They're not going to be his people, but it's going to be one sole rulership. So the Yahushua is not going to, take over the earth, all right, establish the kingdom, and then, I don't know, China still can do whatever they want to do according to their laws, all right? Now, of course, when we talking about history, we were given certain autonomy as Israelites, living in Judea, when the Romans were in power and certain things of that nature. Some nations were allowing us to keep to our ways, but some nations wanted to oppress us and do away with our ways, all right? That's ancient times. That was fulfilling the prophecy. But when the kingdom is established, there's not going to be another nation with their own way of doing things, all right? Saying, hey, that we can eat this if we want to. Now, all this is going to be done away with, man, okay? All this filth like this is going to be done away with. Right. Oh, that was what was the headline against it? UK Supreme Court ruled for a biological definition of woman in British Equality Act. There's another one here. Here it is. Let's see if it'll come up. I don't think we can get that one. Oh yeah, it is. Here it is. Yep. So it says leave immediately on your own. So DHS is telling us citizens. I'm sorry, telling US citizens. Let me read it again. Leave immediately on your own. So the DHS is telling U.S. citizens to leave the country now. All right. Now, I don't know what's in this article, but I can already kind of tell probably where it's going. But there is no escaping, out of America because of Trump or because of terrorists or because of this or because of that or whatever. And definitely there's no escaping because of destruction. Now, if you go somewhere else, all right, the final destruction that's going to come upon America, you may escape, but that doesn't mean you're not going to escape some kind of judgment elsewhere, all right, because you can't escape the wrath of the Lord. Now, I don't know exactly what's in this article, so let's, before we speak too much, let's go and read into it. So it says Nicole Micharoni, whatever, a U.S. citizen and immigration lawyer from Massachusetts, got a shocking email on Friday from the Department of Homeland Security, DHS. Right, the email told her to leave the country within a week. The email sent by U.S. Customs and Border Protection CBP said her parole status had been canceled and warned that she could face legal consequences if she didn't leave right away. All right, so you see this thing when Trump first issued this thing, it was a big deal. All right, not saying it's not still a big deal now. It's just that it has become a moving part in the background. Okay, because of course this still it has an agenda behind why they. Because when they say "Make America Great Again," all right, they're really talking about for so-called white America. All right. They want everybody bound down. And we see that on a lesser scale, which is what we're talking about now, and also on a global scale because you have Trump set up in this position that he's talking about every country this and every country that. And they done us dirty, da 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 da. And we're they're going around like it was the ancient Roman army, demanding this and demanding that, and strutting around like a peacock, trying to show their strength off. All right, and it's not really working out too well for them. All right, so you can scale in or scale back on this particular topic here. It says according to NBC, Mitchell, a 40-year-old lawyer born and raised in Massachusetts, first thought the email was meant for one of her clients, but after checking carefully, she realized it was actually addressed to her. The email's tone came across as threatening, which made her very concerned. Right? So you have a person who was born and raised here in America, became a lawyer, and they're still subject to being removed from this country, man, under this thing that Trump has opposed about immigration, all these things, this, that, the thing, of that nature, right? Which was mostly geared towards Israelites, all right? It says, since the message was sent to a U.S. citizen by mistake, it quickly drew attention. Mitchell shared what happened on social media. After this incident, a high-ranking DHS official released a statement explaining that CBP has been sending out notices to people they believe don't have legal permission to stay in the U.S., which does not make this okay at all. It says who? Right? They can do whatever they want to do. All right. See, this is a problem with the American people, understanding that your rights don't mean as much as you think they do. All right. The Constitution doesn't mean as much as you think it means. All right. Whatever the government really wants to do, they're going to do it. Even if they have to find a loophole to do it, they're going to do it, man. All right. So it says, according to Miggeroni, I think it's a scare tactic. I think they want people afraid of immigration. Yeah, I bet it's a scare tactic until they can actually come and pick you up. Which I guess fear it does play a part in it, right? Right. But hey, it's just a scare tactic until ICE comes knocking at your door or to pick you up from your office and telling you got to pack things up and go. All right, come with us. It says, and it's hard not to agree. The wording was pretty serious to have sent to someone legally in the country. All right, the email stated, subject to potential law enforcement actions that will result in your removal from the United States, DHS encourages you leave immediately on your own. So it says, this happened while the Trump administration was working to end parole for migrants who came to the U.S. using the CBP One app starting in January 2023. The app was created to let migrants book appointments at official border crossings, giving them a legal option instead of entering illegally, which shows you the hypocrisy of America. Because if this was set up, how are you turning around and saying that these people are now illegal? If we legally came over here, which you allow, all right, you turn around to so it's all a stage play, man. All right, it's all a stage play, man. Okay, and that's why brothers constantly mention staying focused on what matters the most, because there'll be a lot of moving parts, but not every one of those moving parts are lubricated with oil. All right, because machine parts, they have to stay oiled up, right, to move. Some of these are just nuts and bolts and pipes and things that are just set there for a reason. But some of these are moving parts, and some operate in the foreground, some operate in the background, and we have to keep our eyes on the moving parts, the things that really matter the most, because a lot of other things can just be distractions. So it says, the decision to cancel parole for these migrants led to legal challenges, and a federal judge recently blocked the deportation of over 500,000 migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela, which we hear so much about Venezuela, right? Who had temporary legal status. McTeroni's case shows how serious the mistakes in DHS's system can be. While the DHS says the error happened because of email addresses given by immigrants, this raises bigger questions about whether the department's methods for checking citizenship and immigration status are accurate and reliable. This kind of mistake is frightening and confusing for those who receive it. It's not that they didn't know. Okay, they knew exactly who they were sending that letter to, man. That's the thing that they're missing. It's not about you being legal or illegal. right? They have a other agenda. This kind of mistake is frightening and confusing for those, and you notice with, they've done the same method over and over and over. All right, when they attack the tribes, they always take the bad of the bunch, all right, and try to paint a broad stroke over everybody. All right, like with Judah, for example. Okay, they always show you the ninja in the hood and the little ninjets and the nigglets, right? And paint a broad stroke that all of them are like that. So when a person meets you, okay, they nervous or they scared of you or they treat you some type of way, it's because they painted the broad stroke that we're all like, the rest of them in the hood. All right, they do this often when they're dealing with the particular tribes, man. Okay, paint the broad stroke. All right, the MS-13, they make it seem like they're all like this. All right. So it says, even if the threatening language in the email wasn't meant for her, it could still have a real emotional impact. The effects of this case should be widespread, and some may fear to say anything. If similar mistakes happen to other U.S. citizens, it could weaken trust in the DHS and its ability to handle immigration matters correctly. It also makes people wonder whether errors like this could be used to scare or pressure individuals, no matter their citizenship status. But it's the thing, they don't care about you. That's the problem, right? Especially dealing with the Israelites in particular, because we don't care about the rest of the people, right? The Israelites don't understand. These people don't care about you, man. It doesn't matter what nationality it is. All right, they're your enemies, man. Okay, but you've been so long amongst them, you might have made friends with some of them, hung out, or maybe you married and made families with someone, whatever the case may be. All right. At the end, the Lord is going to show, all right, just how much these nations are against you. All right, and even against one another, but you is what matters. How much they're against you. All right, Psalms 83. I believe that's it. Okay, it says this incident makes it clear that DHS needs to carefully review its procedures to stop this from happening again and to make sure it correctly identifies and verifies people's legal statuses. And I believe, yep, that's it for that one. So that said, get to the top here. Leave immediately on your own. So DHS is telling the DHS is telling U.S. citizens to leave the country now. All right. So yeah, I mean, now if you really want to get biblical, historical with it, yeah, the tribes were here in America before anyone was over here. But what you have to always factor in is prophecy, man. That's what matters, right? Prophecy, okay? So this has now become their country, all right? Even though we know they raped, they robbed, they stole, they took about force, so on and so forth. We understand that, all right? But it's now pretty much their country. And, it's no need to hold on to this place because it's going to be destroyed anyways. Because you still have some of the tribes, you know, they barely wake up to the fact that they're Israelites, but they'll scream out, yeah, America, America. It was ours. We were here first. Yeah, okay, I understand. I get it. But who cares, man? This place is going to be destroyed, all right? We understand that it was taken from, Israelites, all right? It was taken from, the natives that were here first. But at the end of the day, all right, the will of the Lord is to destroy this place. So, instead of hanging on to America, all right, find your way back to the Lord and cleave to the Lord, all right? But that's it. I just wanted to read what those articles went into. Actually, small little decent read there. We're going to leave it at that. So, Lord, will you edify? Shalom.